This is The Unsweetened Truth with Kristen, where we talk about everything but don't sugarcoat anything. Welcome back to the Unsweetened Truth Pod, part 2 of the Leadership versus Management podcast. Today, we are going to talk about management. First episode was all on leadership, so if you haven't listened to that one, you're listening to this one first. Listen to this one, go back to that one. There will be a part 3. Part 3 is going to be on actionable tips, tricks, ways to determine if you're more of a leader, you're more a manager, all those types of things. But without further ado, let's get started. So let's do a little recap on the difference between leadership and management. Leadership are the people that are visionaries. They lead with empathy. They are problem solvers. They defend. They motivate, things like that. Then you've got the managers that tend to be people that keep things on schedule, on time, within budget, ensuring, everything is dealt with effectively, efficiently. These are a little bit more the details people, right? So it took me working with my father to realize I don't really like to manage. I like holding people accountable. I like doing those things. I like, all that life cycle of management. But like we need this accomplished by this exact day. I get it from a 10,000 foot view, but the details, the inner workings of the details, my goodness, those minds that are able to do this, I could kiss them all because they are so helpful for minds like mine. So let's continue to unpack that. When I talk about my dad in regards to somebody who's really, really great at project management, he's really, really good at workflows and standardizing processes. So here's a couple terms that you can maybe figure out if, hey, am I maybe more of a manager, right? They create clear workflows and procedures. They ensure that everyone knows their roles, responsibilities, which reduces confusion and boosts efficiency. That's something I kind of like. I know the importance of everyone knowing what they need to do, but then again, getting to those finer details is really, really important. So managers are not, the ones kind of like the leaders doing these large acts of something, and they can be small acts of something. They don't have to always be large, but they're typically focused on the details, right? They're focused on the people, they're focused on the responsibilities, they're focused on the roles. It's so funny. They love people that are, managers and have more of this he's like an engineer and supply chainy guy, right? Like they like details, they like numbers, they like things to make sense. They like problems to make sense. They like problems to have solutions. And it's just very funny, getting those two people together, how well they can do, but it's also really hard for them to communicate sometimes. I tend to fall in more of the D category. My dad tends to fall in more of the C category. He's long-winded. I'm like, let's go. I don't have time for this. So it's funny trying to get those two people working together. So if you can find somebody who's a really, really good manager and a really, really good leader, and you smoosh those things together, that's really, really amazing. So without one or the other, you could see a little bit of a lack thereof. And I want to share a couple stories of situations that this has happened with Cray. For example, it's funny, my whole team knows this. There is not $1 coming in and out of Cray that Steve Pucci does not know about. Okay. And when I say dollar, I'm not even exaggerating. There was a time that there was $1 charge on Google somewhere, and you would have thought I took my older brother Kyle away from my father for the rest of his life. He was like, where is this dollar? What was it for? And I'm like, it's a freaking dollar, right? Many of us are like, it's a freaking dollar. No. We need to care about our dollars, because what if there's 1,000 of those happening every single month and we don't know about it? That's why we love our project managers. That's why we love our detail-oriented brains, right? We figured out where it came from. He watches it. I'm just like, it does. I'm looking at the big vision. Does it affect the big vision? You know what I mean? And he's like, no. If anything I've learned from him is that $1 here, $1 there, 25 here, 25 there, no process. It's inefficient. We need to have someone who understands this. Does everybody understand their roles? Do we know what we need to do? Deadlines. Why are we not hitting deadlines? And because creatives, right, there tend to be a lot more feelings based, and we get it done when the project's done. from a project management perspective, we got a lot of projects we got to do. Let's make sure we're getting them done. I wouldn't say that we were at a place pre-Steve that we were like missing deadlines and things like that, but he definitely has made us more aware and better at it. I don't remember a time that we were like desperately, dying at it, but he definitely has made us significantly better at it. He's made us think a little bit more about our resources. Where are we spending our money? How are we doing it? Are we accomplishing it? Is it on time? And the why behind you do that. Because what I think is interesting about management, and I can even speak to this in my own career, is that if someone is just like shoving rules and regulations down your throat, they become like the food inspector, right? Like if anybody's worked in restaurants and you're like, oh my gosh, the food inspector's here, you would like hide some things and you would just like, okay, we just got to skate through. We just got to get through. Because there's no relationship with this food inspector. Because they're going to find something. They're going to find something behind something. And you're going to be like, dang it. They're looking for issues, right? There's managers that exist like that, okay? So if you're finding that you maybe resonate a little bit more with the manager type thing, that's okay. We love you. You're good. You're important. You're great. You keep all our crazy intact. It's good. However, little area of caution I'm going to give you. If you're just going to implement rules and you're not going to have a relationship with your team, they are not going to do their best work. Let me say that again. If you are going to implement rules and not have a relationship with your team, you are going to equal rebellion. Your people are going to rebel. Again, it goes back down to what we talked about in the first episode. If people don't think that you care about them, they're not going to do their best work. We have to show them that we care. And I'm not talking flattery. I'm not talking fake. I'm talking a genuine, authentic care for your people. Instead of, you're showing up late. Why are you showing up late every day this week? You never show up late. I'm going to need to fire you. Why don't you ask why they're showing up late? What's going on? Are you okay? Can I help you? Do we need to adjust your schedule? Is something going on? Maybe they have a sick kid at home. Could you imagine how that person would make them feel? You care. You're recognizing that I'm showing up late. And then instead of berating me because you know it's late, usually that would equal some type of berating. You're choosing to come and talk to me and go, this isn't like you. I know you. You're better than this. What's going on? Is it something I'm doing? I love that. I love when a manager and a leader, there's self-reflection. Is it something I'm doing? The best thing we can control is our behavior. How can we better show up for our people so we can get better results from them? So be careful, managers. Be careful with rule without trying to have a relationship or building that caring nature with your team. It's very, very dangerous. I was horrible to managers and bosses that I didn't feel like cared about me. Now, mind you, I definitely already naturally a little bit more rebellious. I naturally am rebellious. So then when you like add that to the mix, it's like throwing gasoline on a fire. Like I'm naturally a rebellious person. I kind of beat to my own drum. The best bosses and managers that I've worked with are those that understood that about me, and they would give me like special projects. They would give me special tasks, or they would be like, hey, I need you to accomplish 5 of these, and this is what I'm looking for. Like I needed to understand the why. So if you find somebody who's a little bit more rebellious on your team, or they're not really like, I don't know, they're just not clicking, right? But they're a good performer. They're a high performer. They're just like rebellious and they're kind of pushing on you. Maybe they don't understand the why. Maybe they don't get why we have to accomplish 5 of these. Pull back that curtain. Show them, managers. Show them why you need to get 5 this week. Show them why. That's a flaw that I had as a leader and a manager. You know, when I first was starting in my business, is I almost kept too much information from my team, and it applied so much pressure to me that I'm like, I know what's going on over here if we don't do this right. It's okay for them to also know what's going to happen, the consequence. I was almost like so much so putting myself between them as this barrier from having to deal with anything bad, that like I was not communicating with them what would happen if we didn't do a good job on this. They need to know that. They should know that. The people that can handle it, the people that have control over that, it's okay to tell them. If we don't get 5 of these guys, we're going to lose this client, which means we're going to lose this, and this is going to happen, and somebody may lose their job. Now, you have to be careful to create calm instead of chaos. You don't want to create chaos. You don't want to use it as threatening language, and be clear that I'm not trying to use this as threatening language. I'm just trying to pull the curtain back so you guys can see the pressure I'm under to make sure this happens. And guess what? If you show them that and then they know they care about you, they're going to show up for you. They're absolutely going to show up for you. They know you care about them. You're under pressure. You're in the hot seat. Client's mad at you. I don't want that to happen to my boss. I don't want that to happen to my manager. I care about my manager. I want my manager to be able to, be happy when they come to work. So I'm going to do my job. I'm going to help them. I'm going to help them. That's what they're going to do. So be careful, managers, on being too focused on this and that and this and that and da-da-da-da-da-da and go. Really interesting concept that I get questions about a lot is managing different styles of people, different types of people. Every person that you are managing is different, right? And you have to learn this about them. And this is where like kind of the leadership comes in with the management. So it's like, okay, so I have someone, you need to learn how people are motivated, what motivates people and what demotivates people. There are people that like public recognition, and there are people that will make them scream if they're publicly recognized. Public recognition, private recognition. What I see leaders and managers do time and time again that is wrong is they treat everybody the same. They do one foul swoop. You all get the same rewards. You all get the same consequences. Absolutely not, guys. And now I'm not talking about favoritism here, okay? But you need to get a little bit creative. This is where this separates the managers from the managers, okay? Is that this is where you really need to get to know your people. So you know what manages them or what motivates them and what demotivates them. You know this about them, right? So things that I've experienced in my career is I've worked for people that were older and younger than me, and I've managed people that are older than younger than me. That's different. Like HR doesn't want to talk about this. You got to talk about it. It's important. It's real. I'm managing somebody older than me. 9 times out of 10, they're going to think that they know better than I do because I'm younger. If they don't, great. They have some self-awareness that a majority of people do not have, fine, but they think that they know better. You have to build some rapport with them. But you also need to let them know that you recognize that that's something they could be thinking. Be honest, be vulnerable, have that conversation, say, hey, I remember doing this. And I was like, I recognize that I'm younger than you. I recognize that you may be thinking, if you're not, that's okay. But you might be thinking, should you have this role? Address the obvious. I love to address the red flags and address the obvious with people. Let's just get it all out in the open. I don't want anybody secretly feeling anything about me. And again, it doesn't mean you need to talk about every little thing. It doesn't need to be a therapy session. But like, let's all get it out in the open. Chances are I'm younger than you. You're like, I probably could be doing your job 20 years ago. Sure. In my brain, would I think you would have probably had it? Sure. But that's not how you're going to say it because you're a good manager and you're a good leader. What you're going to say instead is just something along the lines of, hey, I really appreciate all of your wisdom, and I really appreciate all of your experience in this role, and I want you to teach me things. Figure out what their strengths are. Let them use them. Let them know that you see them in them and you appreciate them. Treat everybody differently, but equal. Not the same, equal. Treat everybody equal, not the same. Okay. Let's say you have somebody of a different personality than you. That one's fun, right? You have to get outside of yourself. This requires a lot of self-reflection. How am I going to manage this person? How am I going to do that? How am I going to lead them? How am I going to, how are we going to do that? That's hard. Introverts, like if you're extroverted and they're introverted, get curious, research, learn about them, learn what gets them excited. People love to talk about themselves, even introverts. My family was all introverted, so I feel like I really got good at talking to introverts. Because I was like, yep. I was a yapper, okay? I was a yapper from day one. They were much more like, Now, my younger brother is a really great example of this. The guy's freaking brilliant, okay? He was valedictorian. He's a doctor. We're going down 2 weeks to graduate and celebrate him. I'm so excited. But like, he wasn't much of a talker. But when he opened his mouth, he was freaking hysterical. He was hysterical, and he had the most like incredible things that he would say. And I'd be like, why don't you talk more? Some people just don't. They just don't really have a lot to say until they feel absolutely necessary to say something. They just like don't waste their energy or their breath, or they just, I don't know, they just don't feel like it. Okay, fine. Not something I resonate with. I'm talking all the time. I'm talking too much. I need to shut up. But there's people out there that aren't like that. So you need to learn that about them. And you can't force people to be somebody that they're not. You can kind of like figure it out. What are you good at? What are you not good at? But like, you can't be mad at somebody for being somebody that they're not. That's your job as a manager and as a leader to use that person as exactly as they are, push to their strengths, try to eliminate weaknesses, and do what you can. People of different genders. Again, something HR doesn't want to talk about. I think it's important from a management and leadership perspective. Men and women are different. They're different. They require different things. They have different expectations. They communicate differently. Read the book, Love and Respect. Men want to be respected. It is not natural to women. Women want to be loved. they're like, about respect. It doesn't come natural to each other. There's certain things and emotional things that are associated to each gender that you have to be thinking about. Life stages, that's another thing. People are different, and you just have to make sure and take into consideration people's differences. Again, equal, not the same. No favoritism, but not the same. And like, for example, in my own company, I have a highly emotional creative. I know that I have to navigate management with her a little bit different. She tends to procrastinate. She would agree with this. It's just something that she does. She's someone that requires a little bit more management than she does leadership. Like, I still think everybody needs leadership and management, but she requires a little bit more like harnessing of deadlines. This is what we're going to get done. Here's how we're going to get it. That doesn't come naturally to her. That's our job as managers and leaders and authorities. We're meant to help people and create them to make them the best that they can be in their spaces. What gaps do they have that I can fill? She's incredible at that. I got another employee. She's incredibly structured, does not really do well with change. She needs a bit more leadership. She needs a little bit more leadership than she does management. So I got to kind of play this differently. Imagine if I only led or I only managed and I got two entirely different people. And then I've got my dad who's in his, I'm not going to tell his age, but he's older than me. Obviously, he's my dad. I'm dealing with someone who's the opposite gender of me and my father, family dynamics, incredibly difficult. And then on top of that, he's got however many years of experience more than me and all this whatever. That was incredibly difficult to navigate managing my father when we first started at Cray working together, leading my father. That was really hard. Leading him was way easier than managing him. Managing him was hard. I'm his daughter. Managing him was incredibly difficult. He is the project manager of project managers. Now I got to manage him. He's pretty good at managing himself. I kind of let him do his thing. But leading is where I would say I've used him, and I know his strengths. I know his weaknesses. I know what he likes. I know what he doesn't like. I know how he likes to communicate. And I have such an appreciation for the fact that he is so much different than I am. And it really helps the company to be well-rounded. So making sure we have managers, making sure we have leaders, making sure we have different people all come together, and your team members are the people that you have in power, the people that you have in management at your company. Be selective as to who those people are. Make sure that you know that those decisions are important. They have to be good at not just their job, but also good with people. They have to be good with people. To be in charge of people, you need to be good with people. I'm not saying you need to be fun. You need to be cool. You need to understand people. You need to appreciate people. You need to get people. And you have to be good at management. You need to get people and be a part of leadership. You can't just, I've been in recruiting for almost 10 years now. You cannot just take someone who's good at their job and put them into management without any sort of formal training or whatever, just because they were good at their job, we put them into management. Absolutely not. Are they good with people? Are they good at management? Just because that seems like the next step to go, that might be wrong. Us as leaders, we need to know that. We can't just be mad at them when they fail in that job. It's partially our fault too that we put them in it. We made a bad call. We need to be better. So that's going to conclude our second part of 3 parts in regards to leadership management. We're going to head to the third part. This third part, as I'm holding up 2 fingers. This third part is going to be, we're going to be going through self-assessment tips, how to determine if you'd rather be a manager or a leader or neither, how to develop more leadership skills, how to develop management skills, and then any sort of key takeaways and stuff that we're just going to wrap it all up with a pretty bow. So let's get cracking. We're going to start with self-assessment tips. I feel like most of you probably from part 1 and part 2 could determine whether or not you're a leader or you're a manager. That's okay. If you still feel like you're getting to the third and you're like, I don't really know. I feel like I kind of have a little bit of both. Honestly, great. Kudos to you. That's what we want. We want someone with both. You are a powerhouse. You are killer. Continue. My dog is sneezing in the background. I apologize. She has allergies. I want you have to think about yourself. Think about how you work. Think about you as your best self. Okay? We're going to think about ourselves as our best self. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. 1, do I get more energy from brainstorming big ideas or from executing them with precision? Like me right away, I love a brainstorming session. I love big ideas. I also like to execute. It's not like I'm 100% leader. I probably would say I'm like 70-30, 64. I would say probably 70-30, I would say. Leadership, management. But are you somebody who likes to brainstorm those big ideas? Do you like to talk with a group and just yell ideas back and forth? Da, da, da? Do you like that? Or do you like to go, okay, thank you for that big idea. I now want to execute this with details and precision and whatever. Love. Next one. Do I naturally focus on the people or do I focus on the process? Really great thing to think about. Am I focused on the people, that make it happen? Or am I focused on the process? How will it occur? Do I prefer motivating and guiding people or creating structure and solving logistical challenges? Right brain, left brain, introvert, extrovert, DISC assessments. All these personality things can kind of help you guys with this as well. But those are some really, really good questions. If you tend to say yes to the front half of those questions, you fall a little bit more into the leadership category. If you tend to fall on the back, a little bit more in the management. If you tend to do both, fine. Like I love solving a logistical challenge. And I also love motivating and guiding people. I love that. I don't so much love to create a structure, but I understand the importance of it. So I will do it anyway. Really great. So you could ask feedback from people. A couple examples of things you could ask. Where have you seen me naturally shine? Ask your employer. Ask coworkers. Where do you feel like I do my best work? They'll tell you. Do I tend to inspire? Do I tend to be a little bit more into organization? Is it dealing with people and social and kind of motivating and, or is it, let's get down to the details, right? Good things. This isn't about boxing yourself in. I want to be very clear about that. It doesn't mean you have to fit into one box or you have to fit in the other. It's about recognizing your default strengths. Recognizing the things about yourself that are just naturally good. Going back to I think it was the first episode, whether or not it can be something taught or it could be something that's innate. I believe that you need to pull into your innate nature first. What do you tend to gravitate towards? Because if you're not being yourself, you're going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to feel awkward. You have a superpower. You have a superpower. You just got to figure out what it is and then lean into it even more. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to figure that out. So we're not boxing ourselves in. You just need to be able to double down and build them up and then also build up the other side. If you feel like you're really strong in management, but you want to build up leadership, great. This is something I had to learn very much so this year and last year. As you add more team members, you grow, you rebrand, you restructure. When I restructured, it was incredibly uncomfortable. That's a weakness of mine. I found that I needed to build up my management. I needed to build up my management skills. I needed to build up my resources and my details and my planning and my production and my deadlines. I needed to do that for my team because my team was struggling. So I needed to do that. All right, let's talk about developing leadership skills. Leadership often emerges when we step up for others. Step up for somebody at work. Like my first story in the beginning. Somebody who maybe doesn't have a voice, somebody with maybe not as much confidence, but you have more confidence. Step up for them. Step up for them. But know, like again in my first story, what could happen. But as a leader, it's not all the positives. Things will happen as well. I love to listen to powerful leaders. Like I think it's a book called The 48 Laws of Power. Not a big reader, gonna be honest, but there's a couple books that I do really love. And 48 Laws of Power I find to be very, very interesting. I like to just be curious about other people's powership styles. How do people gain power? How are they powerful leaders? What do they do? And when I told my team like what I wanted to do with this podcast and where I wanted to go at the end is like, I want to be somebody like Brene Brown. I want to be like Simon Sinek. I want to be like Gary Vee. I love how they lead with empathy and they lead with integrity and they lead with courage. So don't just look for leaders that had like a ton of power. 48 Laws of Power kind of does that, right? Like these are people that just had a lot of power, but they have power for the reasons why you want to have power. They're leaders leading people in the way that you want to lead. Research them, learn about them, spend time with them. If they're alive, go to their speaking, learn what they do. Figure out how to become that. Get outside your comfort zone, joining groups, get on boards, get on different places, spend time meet other people at your company, meet other organizations, ask your boss for more I feel like leadership is something I'm really, really interested in. How can you help me build leadership? Now, what would be interesting is if your boss understands the difference between leadership and management. If they don't, send them this way to the pod. But I think that would be really good. Public speaking, I had that on here, even at a small scale, really gets you comfortable being in front of a group, because at the end of the day, that's what a leader is. They're at the front, they're at the side, they're at the back of a group. Get in front of a group, be in front of a group, lead a group. And if you're not comfortable, here's like low stakes groups, nonprofits, volunteer work, small organizations. Start small. Get in, so that way it's not all on you, right? Like a nonprofit board, a volunteer board, a church board, something like that, that it's lower stakes. Don't go straight for like Campbell Soup's board, okay? Like actually take some time, build those skills at a lower level, and then work up and work up and work up and work up. Don't put too much pressure on yourself in the beginning. Learn how to work with other people, learn how to gain leadership, learn how to get people to look to you as a leader. You'll learn that at a lower stakes level. Now, that doesn't mean that a church group or a nonprofit or whatever is not important. Entirely important. It just tends to be a little bit lower stakes, which I think is good. Developing some management skills, some tips here. And again, this is my weaker of the two areas, but I still feel capable enough to tell you guys about this. So something that we implemented at Cray early on was we use a project management software. Thank the Lord. Thank you, Jesus, for giving, I believe it was an employee at the time, that idea. I really appreciate it, because we've kept it for the longest time. We've kept it from the beginning. And it was a way to keep everything organized. If we didn't have that, oh my gosh. So we have a system. We have a project management system, which has kept us organized. It's kept us clear. It's kept us da-da-da-da-da. We have a place that it's color coordinated. It's whatever. It's all good. So I would recommend some type of system to keep yourself organized. And it could be a free system. It doesn't have to be incredibly expensive. Monday is definitely expensive for a small business, right? I'm going to be clear. It's not Salesforce pricing, but use something that just kind of keeps you organized. Automate, delegate, those things like that. Look at your week. Look at your week. What can I automate? What can I delegate? What can I standardize? That's what managers are doing. How to be more efficient, how to save money, how to maximize our resources. That's what managers are doing. Practice that. Look at the details. Nothing is too big. Nothing is too small. Remember Steve Pucci? $1 from Google. He knew where that was going. That's important. That's how tight you want your ship to be. Take on a project at work that is very process heavy. Very process heavy. It's something that requires a lot of steps, a lot of people, a lot of resources, a lot of decisions, a lot of deadlines. Try to take on a project. Don't do it by yourself. Let management know it's like one of your firsts or whatever and you want to do it, but take on a new project. Get training, take a course. There's so many project management courses out there. There's so many management courses out there. You can get out there, learn some things, read. You know, some of this depends on if your company is supporting you in this, or if you want to build these up to show your company, or maybe you want to own your own company. There's so much that you can do here. I think it's just important. This is a little quickie one right at the end. I think it's just really important for everyone, again, to know that if you are a manager or you are a leader, you don't have to be stuck there. You don't have to be stuck there. And that doesn't mean that you are less important one or than the other. Leaders have this like type of word and connotation to them, and managers are just like, I feel like that's kind of how I look at it. It's not that way. They're both so important. And the people that can become more well-rounded and have leadership and management skills together, oh my gosh, you are going to go far in your organization. And guys, if you are, the 20-something-year-old me back in the day, or you're in college that you're listening to this, or you're early on in your career and you're listening to this, you have your own company, you have whatever it is, you want to bring on other employees. Get some of these skills before you need them. Try to acquire them. I learned a lot of them through just life and experience that I didn't even realize I was learning at the time, which now I'm sitting here telling the stories all these years later because I recognize what leadership was now. But really try to get out there. Try to get out there, experience new things. I think experience is the best teacher. You could read a book 1,000,000 times, but I think sometimes if you haven't been through it, it's a little different. The book could definitely support you and give you good clarity, but I would definitely spend some time doing things like that. And I have a couple notes here that I want to make very, very clear. If leadership inspires action, management sustains it. action with no plan or way to execute. I mean, you guys have seen like a beehive, right? Like a beehive without a queen bee. Scary. They're all like, they're flying around. Ants in an anthill. Like it looks chaotic, but there is a plan. But you see how much action is occurring. You've seen when people panic. You've seen when people panic. How spinning, running, whatever. Leadership is inspiring. We're going to do this. This is where we're going to go. Management, here's how we're going to accomplish it. Killer when those two collide. Being both doesn't mean being perfect at both. It means knowing when to lead, when to manage, and when to bring in someone who complements you. Being a leader, being a manager requires a significant amount of self-reflection, humility, and awareness. You have to be able to do that. To be able to recognize, is this me? Do I need to do better here? Do I need to bring somebody in that would complement all of the skills that I have? Notice that it's not a lack. You're not lacking. Just someone that complements you. When leadership and management show up together, you get vision and execution. You don't just dream, which is what visionaries do, which is what leaders do. We dream. You also are delivering. There's a team that dreams. There's a team that delivers. Being both is great. Make sure you're well-rounded. Thank you so much, guys, for listening to the 3 parts of the podcast. If you made through all 3, oh my gosh, give yourself a sweet treat today because that was a long pod. But it was a good pod. It was filled with lots of great information. Again, reach out to me. I love talking about leadership. I love talking about management. Just a little plug. Kristen Ray, my company, which is also me, would love to come in and talk with your own teams about leadership, about management, coaching them on the differences of these 2 things. I would love to come and speak in front of your organization. I would love to do workshops. We offer all of those things. We've been booked for them already. And I would love to spend more time on this. I'm very passionate about leadership. I'm very passionate about management, and I'm passionate about how the 2 can come together. I've spent a lot of time in my life learning a little bit about both, and I really want to teach people because I really believe good leadership and good management can absolutely change people for the better. So feel free to reach out to me. Thanks again for the podcast, and we'll be in touch next week.